signs, plagues, and the sea. The day Pharaoh challenged Musa, as there were people who once believed they could defy the very one who created them. They imagined their power was eternal, that the golden glow on a throne could make time itself kneel. But when the winds of history rise, every pyramid of power collapses, and the name of the one who called himself a god survives only as a curse. The story you are about to hear is not a legend. It is truth engraved in the Quran, preserved for more than 4,000 years as a warning to all who have ever been drunk on power. This is the story of a man who declared, "O Israel, I am your greatest Lord." That man was Pharaoh, the Pharaoh of Egypt, who once made the world tremble, yet could not protect his own soul. Welcome to Spiritual Echo Stories, where we retell the sacred memories of humanity. The stories that, when you reach the end, will not let you see the world with the same eyes again. At the heart of that golden land, Egypt blazed beneath the sun. The Nile flowed like a green artery of life, carrying water and silt to every region. The fields overflowed with wheat, and the herds were as countless as the stars. Merchant ships crowded the docks, bringing cinnamon from India, gold from Nubia, and cedar from Lebanon. That kingdom seemed like paradise on earth, where everything bowed to a single name, Pharaoh. He was not merely a king. He was a monument to self-worship. Great temples carved his name into every stone. People prostrated themselves, offered gifts, and begged for favors, in palaces plated with gold and marble. Pharaoh convinced himself that he was the creator, the sender of rain, the one who controlled the Nile. No one dared to say otherwise, because a single glance from him could have an entire family impaled on stakes. Yet that absolute power began to poison him from within. When a person has no one to fear, he starts to believe he cannot die. Pharaoh lived in boundless luxury. His table could hold a whole young camel for a single feast. And people said he had never known illness. In the mirror he saw himself as a chosen god, not realizing that this was the invisible trap leading him to ruin. From the throne he looked down upon the people, the children of Israel who labored under the burning sun, building towers and temples to honor the very man who oppressed them. They were the descendants of Yusuf, the vizier who once saved Egypt from famine. Yet now they were shackled and forgotten. When Pharaoh heard news that the children of Israel were multiplying, a strange fear slipped into his heart of stone. One night, he dreamed of a fire roaring out of the Holy Land, devouring the palaces and soldiers of Egypt and sparing only the people of Israel. He awoke with cold sweat on his brow and summoned seers, astrologers, and sorcerers. They all said the same thing. A child from the people of Israel will be born, and that child will bring down your throne. The prophecy pierced his pride like a blade. Pharaoh issued a monstrous decree: kill every newborn male among the people of Israel. He believed that the blood of the innocent could protect his crown. But how could anyone prevail over the will of the one who created the heavens and the earth? While Pharaoh slept inside his illusion of divinity, Allah began to write the story of his downfall. In a small house, a mother held her newborn son, and Allah whispered into her heart, "Place him upon the river and do not fear. I will return him to you, and he will be among those I have chosen." That infant, years later, would stand before Pharaoh and say, "I am the messenger of the Lord of all worlds." And then all the pyramids of power Pharaoh had built over a lifetime would collapse with a single step and a single word from the truth. Prepare yourself, because what happens next will make you see the world differently forever. This is not only a story of power and sin, it is proof that every kingdom of arrogance has an appointed end. If you wish to journey with us through the next chapters of this sacred history, subscribe to the Spiritual Echo Stories channel right now. Every subscription is an encouragement that helps us bring you stories that both shake your heart and awaken it. In the night that blanketed Egypt, while the cries of mothers rose across villages, a small flame of hope had not yet gone out. In a modest home among the children of Israel, a woman cradled her newborn son, tears in her eyes and faith surging in her chest. Outside, Pharaoh's soldiers raided house after house to kill every newborn boy. They carried swords and fire. She carried only a belief that the one who created the Nile, the one who breathed a soul into humankind, would not abandon her. In that desperation, Allah spoke directly into her heart. "Nurse him. If you fear for him, place him on the river. Do not be afraid and do not grieve, for I will return him to you, and I will make him one of my prophets." With a trembling yet faithful heart, she kissed her child's brow one last time, laid him in a cradle woven of reeds, wrapped it carefully, and nudged it onto the water. The little cradle spun with the current, drifting beneath the cold moonlight, carrying a mother's pain and prayer. On the bank, Musa's sister followed quietly, eyes fixed on the cradle that floated toward the palace, the very place ruled by the man who had ordered the child's death. Allah had arranged this story long before. Among marble walls and royal gardens, Pharaoh's wife Asiya was walking by the river. When the cradle brushed the stone steps, she heard a faint cry. She ran to it, lifted the covering, and the moment she saw the boy's face, her heart seemed to stop. What she felt was more than pity. It was a light of love and faith that Allah placed in her heart. She held the baby to her chest and whispered, "He will be a comfort to me and to the king. Do not kill him. Perhaps he will bring us benefit, or we will take him as a son." From that moment, Pharaoh's fate began to crack. He did not know that in his own palace, the very child he feared most had been delivered by Allah into the arms of the wife he treated like a decoration. Musa grew up among gilded walls, beneath pillars engraved with the tyrant's name. Each day he saw the luxury of the court and heard the groans of the slaves outside. Mercy sprouted in his heart before his childhood had even passed. Before Musa could become a guide, Allah let him taste the frailty of life. As a toddler, Pharaoh once held Musa in his arms, and the child grabbed the king's beard and yanked it hard. Rage flared in the king. He shouted, "He is my enemy. Kill him." Asiya intervened, insisting it was nothing but the thoughtless act of a child. To test whether Musa was truly a threat, Pharaoh ordered 2 bowls placed before him. One bowl held jewels, the other held live, glowing coals. If he chooses the jewels, he understands and schemes. If he chooses the coals, he is ignorant, merely a child. In that fateful instant, Musa reached toward the jewels. Allah sent the angel Jibril, who gently guided the small hand toward the coals. Musa lifted a coal to his mouth. The fire burned his tongue and left a scar that made his speech slightly hesitant in later years. Yet that very mark became proof of the truth. Musa's words were not slick and polished, but the truth within them blazed like fire. Pharaoh watched and decided the child was harmless, and he spared him. Musa grew up in the palace like a royal son, yet he kept something different alive in his heart. Allah made his heart soft, untouched by the blindness of power. He walked among marble and gold, but his eyes looked beyond the walls to where the children of Israel were still beaten, where the groans of the weak still echoed in the hot wind. At times, Musa stood watching the Nile surge by, the river that had carried him to life, and in his heart rose the question that would become his mission. Does justice still flow in this world? As Allah had promised, the mother who once let her child go upon the river was reunited with him in a way no one could have imagined. When Musa was still a baby, he refused to nurse from any woman in the palace. No one could soothe him, and his cries unsettled the court. At that moment, Musa's sister approached the guards and said, "I know a woman who can nurse the boy. She will care for him and love him." They agreed. Allah brought Musa's mother back, not only to nurse her son, but to be honored and paid for doing so. That is how the Creator writes miracles. While the tyrant thought he had triumphed, Allah quietly overturned everything with a river and a believing heart. From that river, a child was saved. Through that child, a nation would be delivered. No one knew that in the palace of pride, Allah was nurturing the seed of justice. While Pharaoh's walls still glittered, another destiny awakened, silent yet unstoppable, the destiny of Musa, the prophet of Allah, who would make an empire that seemed eternal bow its head. There are moments when destiny steps out of the shadows and calls a person by name. For Musa, it came on an ordinary afternoon as he walked through the narrow streets of Egypt. Shouts rose from the crowd. 2 men were struggling, one from the oppressed people of Israel and the other an Egyptian aligned with Pharaoh. The Israelite cried for help, and Musa, with the flame of justice in his heart, rushed to intervene. With a single shove in a heated instant, the Egyptian fell and did not rise again. In that moment, Musa knew his life had changed forever. He trembled and pleaded with Allah, "My lord, I have wronged myself. Please forgive me." The most merciful forgave him. That death became the most dangerous secret in Egypt. Rumors spread like fire in dry grass. Pharaoh raged and ordered the killer hunted down. Loyal men came to warn Musa. "They are plotting to kill you. Leave at once." Musa did not hesitate. He left the city with nothing but his trust in the one who created him. Under the cold moon he wandered the desert, walking until his feet cracked and his mouth went dry. He did not know where he was going. He only knew the hand of Allah was guiding him. In exile, Musa learned the lesson every prophet must pass through. The lesson of loneliness, fear, and absolute surrender. Years later, in the distant land of Madian, Musa found kind people, married, and lived in peace. But peace was not the destination of his destiny. One night, as Musa traveled the desert with his family, he saw a flicker of light in the distance. He told his wife, "Wait here, I see a fire. Perhaps I can bring back a flame for warmth or find someone to show us the way." The fire was not of human making. It was the light of revelation. As Musa drew near, a voice called through the air, "O Musa, truly I am your Lord. Remove your sandals, for you are in the sacred valley of Tuwa." Heaven and earth seemed to hold their breath. Allah gave Musa a sacred mission. "Go to Pharaoh, for he has transgressed all bounds." Musa trembled and said, "My Lord, my chest tightens and my tongue is heavy. Send my brother Harun with me." Allah accepted and said, "Go, both of you, with my signs. Speak to him gently, perhaps he will remember and fear me." Musa returned to Egypt, no longer the pitied child of the palace, but the messenger of the Most High. He walked through golden gates and stood before Pharaoh, who had once raised him, now posing as a false god. Pharaoh looked at Musa and laughed with scorn. "Did I not raise you from childhood? You lived among us for years, and then you killed a man of my people. You are ungrateful." Musa answered calmly, "I did that before I understood. Then I fled, and my Lord granted me wisdom and made me one of his messengers. As for the favor you boast of, was it not because you enslaved the children of Israel?" Musa's confidence and candor stunned the court. Pharaoh frowned and asked, "Who is the Lord of all worlds?" Musa said, "The Lord of the heavens and the earth and everything between them." "If you would truly understand." Pharaoh turned to his courtiers and mocked. "Do you hear him? He calls himself a messenger from the sky." Musa did not stop. "He is your Lord and the Lord of your forefathers before you. He is the Lord of the east and the west and everything between." Those words sliced into Pharaoh's arrogance. For the first time, the sensation of power within him began to fracture. He shouted, "If you choose a god other than me, I will throw you into prison." Musa replied, "Even if I bring you a clear sign." Pharaoh jerked his chin. "Bring it, if you are truthful." Musa cast his staff upon the ground, and it became a living serpent, coiling and breathing into the empty air. The palace erupted in panic. Pharaoh stumbled back, then fought to regain his composure. "He is a magician. He plans to use tricks to steal my people." But when Musa placed his hand into his cloak and drew it out shining bright as the moon, everyone stood in stunned silence. That light was no illusion. It was a sign of the truth. Instead of humbling himself, Pharaoh summoned Egypt's greatest magicians. He wanted to humiliate Musa before the entire nation. Tens of thousands gathered in the great square where miracle would face deception. The magicians threw down their ropes, and they seemed to writhe like snakes. Fear stirred in Musa, but Allah whispered, "Do not fear, you will prevail." Musa cast his staff, and it became a great serpent that swallowed all their illusions. Silence fell upon the square. Then the unexpected happened. The magicians fell to their knees, tears dropping onto the hot sand. "We believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun," they cried. In that instant Pharaoh knew he no longer controlled the fear of others. He shouted orders to sever their hands and feet and crucify them on stakes. Yet those men and women only smiled in faith. They had seen what Pharaoh could never see in a lifetime: the power of the Most High. That day, in Egypt's great square, Pharaoh's power began to shake. A word, a staff, and a conviction had woken a kingdom that slept in darkness. From that moment, the battle between truth and arrogance had truly begun. When the light of truth is revealed and the heart stays shut, ignorance is no longer the cause. It is pride against the one who created humankind. After the showdown between Musa and the magicians, Egypt was never the same. Those who once cheered for Pharaoh began to whisper of a power greater than the throne. Fear and admiration for Musa spread like desert wind. Yet Pharaoh grew more ruthless than ever. He roared before his court, "Will you allow him and his people to spread corruption? Kill their sons and let their daughters live. We will crush them underfoot." He believed he could smother faith with blood. Allah never allows justice to be buried. While Pharaoh fortified his throne, Allah began to send him signs, one after another, to see if he would turn back. First, the mighty land fell into drought. The sky withheld rain. The Nile receded, and the fields cracked like the skin of the aged. Food ran short. Livestock died by the herd. Egyptians pleaded with Musa, "O Musa, pray to your Lord for us. If he removes this calamity, we will believe." Musa prayed. The rain returned, and the Nile swelled. As soon as the dry winds ceased, they broke their promise. Another warning followed. A flood. Waters rose higher than anyone remembered, sweeping away homes, harvests, and even palaces. This time, Pharaoh's people were truly afraid. They again sought Musa, "Please pray to your Lord. We promise to believe." Musa prayed, and the waters stilled. Pharaoh broke his word yet again. His heart remained as hard as the idol he worshipped, himself. When mercy is rejected, warning arrives clothed in terror. The sky darkened, and a tide of locusts poured in from the east, blackening the land. They ate everything, from wheat to grapevine, even gnawing scrap wood from roofs. People fled and wept, yet Pharaoh would not bow. When the locusts vanished, they comforted themselves with denial. It was only coincidence. The signs did not stop. Before recovery even began, Egypt was overrun by lice and gnats that clung to every person. They invaded homes, tangled in hair, seeped into food. People could neither eat nor sleep. The once proud now screamed in misery. Pharaoh tightened his grip and punished complainers. When the lice were gone, they forgot their pain. Allah sent a fourth trial. Frogs. At first a few, then thousands, then millions. They crawled everywhere, leapt upon tables, slipped into cups of water, even wriggled into beds. Night choruses swelled so loud that one could not hear one's own voice. The people ran again to Musa and begged him to pray. He prayed. When the plague lifted, they forgot again. Each rescue only sank them deeper into sin. Finally, Allah sent a sign that shook all of Egypt. The Nile, the lifeline of the nation, turned to blood. No one could drink, bathe, or water fields. Blood flowed thick through the streets and stank in the heat. When the children of Israel drew water from their wells, it remained clear. When Egyptians tried to borrow it, the water in their hands turned red like blood. Even with a miracle so plain, Pharaoh turned away. "This is only Musa's sorcery," he said. Allah allowed him to stagger deeper into the fog of his arrogance. His heart grew numb until every sign meant nothing. Musa grieved to see Pharaoh's people sink into sin. He supplicated, "My Lord, you have given Pharaoh and his people splendor in this life. Remove their wealth and harden their hearts so that they will not believe until they see the painful punishment." Allah answered, "Your prayer has been accepted. Stand firm. Do not follow the ways of the ignorant." Despite the warnings, Pharaoh clung to the delusion that his throne was immortal. His people feared, but they feared him more than they feared Allah. They whispered about Musa but dared not declare faith. Only a small band held fast, praying in secret and waiting for Allah's command to set them free. While Pharaoh reveled in power, judgment drew near. Those years, Egypt shone outwardly but rotted within. The nation that once symbolized might now trembled with fear. Led by a man who called himself a god yet could not command a single drop of rain or the water in a river. The whole people were like a ship drifting toward a chasm. While Musa remained steadfast and prayerful, he did not wait for his enemy's collapse. He waited for the hour of the Lord, the hour when the sea would open a path for the faithful and close over the arrogant. That night, Egypt's sky did not shine as it usually did. The wind rose, carrying the damp scent of something about to happen. Musa stood in silence, eyes on the horizon where darkness merged with the water. He knew the hour had come. The hour promised long ago by Allah. After years of oppression and prayers that seemed to fall into emptiness, the children of Israel were finally permitted to leave. They had no soldiers and no weapons, only faith. They believed that when Allah said go, even if the sea stood before them, He would make a way. In the dead of night, Musa led them out. The soft thunder of thousands of footsteps moved across the desert, laced with whispered prayers. Mothers clutched babies, elders leaned on staffs, young men carried their lives wrapped in cloth. They moved toward the sea as if the moonlight itself guided them. Behind them, news reached the palace. When Pharaoh awoke to the escape of the children of Israel, rage blazed like fire. I will chase them. I will drag them back. I will show the world that no one escapes Pharaoh. He gathered soldiers and chariots, weapons glinting in the moon, hooves pounded like rolling thunder, an army of arrogance racing toward destiny. At first light, Musa and his people reached the shore. Before them the sea stretched vast and heaving. Behind them the hoofbeats grew louder. Panic seized some of the children of Israel. They have caught us. We will die here. Musa looked at them, his voice steady and strong. No, truly, my Lord is with me. He will guide me. His words rekindled a flicker of faith. He lifted his eyes and heard the command within. Strike the sea with your staff. He obeyed, and in that instant the sea split. Waters rose like two towering walls, and between them a dry road opened all the way to the far shore. The people stood frozen, stunned by a miracle beyond imagination. Musa raised his hand and signaled them forward. Under their feet the ground was firm and dry, while on both sides, waves stood like cliffs. Children cried, the old trembled. Step by step they crossed the path only Allah could create. As the last of them neared the far side, Pharaoh and his army burst upon the scene. They saw the road through the sea and, rather than recognize the sign of God, Pharaoh saw a chance to prove his might. He shouted, "Forward! If Musa can pass, then I will pass." Thousands of war horses surged into the heart of the sea. Hooves thundered and weapons clattered, mingling with the roar of water. When they reached the middle, Musa received the final command. Let the sea close. He raised his hand, and the waters began to move. Waves high as mountains crashed down. Soldiers screamed, horses shrieked, blades rang against stone and vanished in the depths. Pharaoh was swallowed by the surge. As his final breath slipped away, he cried, I believe there is no God but the one whom the children of Israel believe in. And I am among those who submit. Allah said, do you believe now, when before you rebelled and were among the sinners? Today we will preserve your body so that you may be a sign for those who come after. The sea sealed itself and fell silent. At sunrise, Pharaoh's corpse drifted to shore, his face locked in the terror of a man who found truth too late. People looked upon him and understood that no human power, however great, can stand against the will of the Creator. The children of Israel, after years of oppression, were free at last. They fell to the ground. Tears mingled with sand, and Musa said, O my people, give thanks to your Lord, who has saved you from the tyrant. The story did not end there. More than 3,000 years later, Pharaoh's body was found, preserved just as Allah had promised. 19th century archaeologists stood in astonishment as the remains of the man who called himself a god lay motionless and empty in a museum. It was not merely a corpse. It was a mirror reflecting the arrogance of humankind. Allah made the oppressed inherit a blessed land, while the splendor of Pharaoh blew away like dust. The pyramids, temples, and idols he built to immortalize his name became monuments to his sin. The lesson still echoes through time. No one can call himself a god. No one can challenge the Creator. The Nile flows on. The wind sighs through toppled columns. Whenever anyone looks upon the desiccated body of Pharaoh, they remember that the power which seemed eternal was drowned beneath the hand of Allah's justice. Such is the end of all the arrogant. When they think they have touched immortality, that is the moment destiny touches them. If you want more stories that awaken the soul, lessons from the Quran, from the histories of the prophets, and from the journey of the human spirit, join the Spiritual Echo Stories community. There you will receive insights that nourish the heart, enlighten the mind, and strengthen your faith amid a chaotic age. And do not forget to subscribe to the Spiritual Echo Stories channel today. Every single subscription encourages us to keep telling stories of life. Stories that lead us back to faith, humility, and the peace that waits within our own hearts.